Peace, fam. It's your brother Jawanza checking in, getting all the technical things situated before we start our Sunday Sessions conference call. The time is approximately 6:52 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll begin the call in another 8 minutes or so. But just checking in. Hope all is well with y'all family. Daylight savings, we just sprung forward. It kind of threw me off because while I was just kind of rising and getting ready today, I looked at the clock and I said, wow, it's later than what I thought it would be. And then next thing I know, here we go. So it is what it is with that. So hopefully everybody's adapting to that pretty well. Definitely look forward to building with you all tonight. Got a really good topic. We're going to stay with the area of focus of law and politics. But we're definitely going to get into, the Second Amendment and, should black people be exercising that, the pros and cons of that, things of that nature. So, got a really good call. Hope we get some good participation. Definitely want to hear the family's thoughts on this. See you, bro Dante. We logging in from the computer. That's what's up. That's peace, fam. Just getting everything situated, bro. Man, I don't know about y'all, but it's been a wild weekend in college sports. So I don't know if y'all any basketball fans out there, but March Madness is definitely here. I'm a little despondent because all my teams lost and my arch rivals won. I'm an Aggie, so freaking North Carolina Central, they won the MEAC, but I'm happy that the HBCUs are getting some love and the Big Dan's getting some of that money as well. So shout out to the HBCUs. And things of that nature, but yeah, I am mad. Forget Central, man. Hate F Duke too. Duke won. They won the ACC. That was just heartbreaking. And then me being from Ohio, seeing that Michigan won the Big Ten, that hurt me as well. So it's going to be a wild tournament for sure. But yeah, like I was saying, we're going to be talking about exercising the Second Amendment and our interactions with law enforcement. I had a couple, just been observing some things this week in regards to black people in our relationships with law enforcement. It's just very eye opening once you kind of get into it and just observing like what's going on out here in the community and how we should be vigilant and aware of everything that's kind of going on. So definitely looking forward to just building with the family on that as well. Peace. Who we got on the line this evening?
Peace, this is Linwood.
Peace, Linwood. How you doing this evening, bro?
I'm doing pretty well. What about yourself?
I can't complain, man. Thanks for calling in. Where you calling in from, bro?
From Richmond, Virginia.
Richmond, VA. 2 up, 2 down. That's what's up.
You're good.
How's everything out there, man?
It's not bad. It's not bad. It's a little chillier than what I like. Not that good for business, but I'm dealing with it.
I know, man. We almost. I'm looking at my calendar now. I think we're about just almost a week away from the official day of spring beginning. And you're still getting some really cold weather. I think I'm up here in DC, and I think we actually might have some snow on the way as well. So this week.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Which is a little crazy how they finish with everything.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it doesn't really surprise me at all, considering the type of weather that we've had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we haven't really had a snow blizzard or one of those big snowstorms like we normally would get in the winter. So I've always thought that was on the way, and seems like we just might get it, unfortunately. We have anyone else that happens to be on the line? Introduce yourself, your name and where you're from.
Hi, this is Tiffany, calling from Detroit, Michigan.
Peace, Tiffany. How you doing this evening, Queen?
I'm doing good. How's everybody?
Doing well, doing well. Thanks for calling. Is this your first time on the call, Tiffany, or you been on the call a few times before?
I'm usually on here. I'm just quiet because, as you can tell, my little one is kind of noisy.
No worries. You got a little boy, little girl?
The little boy.
Oh, okay. How old is he?
He's the last one. He's 3. But I have 18 and 13. And
wow.
then 3.
That's what's up, Tiff. We also got Dante. We're also live on Facebook Live as well. So in the event that you all can't make a future call or just want to tune in as well, see my face or just build with some of the people on Facebook Live, we're always on Pan-African Alliance's Facebook page on our live session. So we got Dante on. He's out there in Virginia as well, to Linwood. And so he's just chopping it up, talking about he's excited for the snow. He's tripping, though. Ain't nobody excited for no snow, man. Anyone else we got on the call? If you just joined the call, mention your name and where you're from.
Hi, this is Carmen calling from St. Louis.
Peace. How you doing this evening, Carmen?
Good, how are you?
Doing good. Thanks for asking. Glad that you could make the call. How's everything out there in the Lou?
Everything is going. I just moved back. This is home for me, and I just moved back 2 weeks ago, so I'm still getting adjusted. But can't complain.
Cool. Welcome back home. I'm from the Midwest as well. Originally, I'm from Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
So,
well, thank you.
Midwest love. How's everybody adjusting to the whole daylight savings springing forward? Did it mess anybody up today other than myself a little bit? I know it definitely messed me up. I woke up. I woke up kind of late. Well, not late, but I woke up later than what I thought it was, and it wasn't until I looked at the clock. You know, one of the clocks that actually stay in tune with everything. I said, wow, it's a lot later than what I expected it to be. So I guess it's a good thing. We get more daylight out here, and normally when we host these calls, it's dark outside, so I gotta make sure I got all the lights on in the room for the Facebook Live family. But we still got some good natural light coming through the window, so that's a blessing for sure. Just we got a duel on here. Facebook Live. He just got back from Belize. Man, I bet it's beautiful out there. Peace, King. Welcome to the build. Welcome to the session. So it's 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll go ahead with the call. I want to thank everybody that's on the call right now for joining and being in on time. We'll have other callers chime in throughout the session. But we'll go ahead and begin right now. We only have an hour, and most times it's like we get into these really good topics and good discussions, and it seems like we could build for like at least 2 hours, but definitely want to be respectful for everybody's time and sacrifice for getting on this call. And it's good. It's good to hear everybody's feedback on some of these important topics. So just as a couple ground rules, we'll just before we get into this session, just want to say, make sure you have your phones on mute if you have any background noise, whether you're driving or in public places and whatnot. Maybe you have children. So you can just hear everybody talking clearly. And then while someone's talking, just make sure they finish their statement before you interject, and make your thoughts be known as well. And also keep in mind, we don't have to be unified in our beliefs. to be unified in our intentions, right? So this is definitely a roundtable type of discussion. You're with family, brothers and sisters. We may not always agree, but at the same time, we definitely have the same intent, which is really to deconstruct a lot of these problems and challenges that are facing our community and come up with solutions and best practices going forward. So, don't feel shy. As far as the chime in, we definitely encourage feedback, and this is a two-way conversation. So, with that being said, we'll go ahead and get into tonight's topic. So, in March, I think this is I'm looking at the calendar now, the second week of the Sunday sessions for March. And each month, we have a particular focus. February, the focus was relationships. So for March, the focus has been in the areas of law and war, right? And politics as well. And that's what we'll be targeting tonight. We'll be discussing law, war, and the political area of life. And basically, we'll be deconstructing the Second Amendment and the importance of firearms ownership and self-defense in the black community, right? And I just think, this is one of those very important topics because as we saw, white supremacy has become more and more bold as the Trump administration has, basically took off ground. And even before then, when Dalen Roof went into the historical black church and, assassinated all our, those black elders. You know what I'm saying? There was really no swift justice that was taken, that happened after that. Even with our brother down there in Florida, right, who was assassinated by, I can't think of the name right now, it escapes me. But just so many different situations where our people are targeted by law enforcement and by these, block watch, community watchers, and we aren't necessarily protecting ourselves, and we don't have law enforcement to protect us as well. So I thought this would be a really good topic to build on. So before I introduce the question for this evening, I'll pretty much talk about, I want to introduce something that our ancestor, Dr. Malcolm X, Zimmerman and Trayvon, that's what I was talking about, Dante, the incident down in Florida. So thank you for throwing that up there, fam. But I'll also introduce what our ancestor Malcolm X had to say in regards to this topic. So if y'all haven't read or listened to in the past the ballot or the bullet speech by Malcolm X, and what he said was, I must say this concerning the great controversy over rifles and handguns, or rifles and shotguns, I'm sorry. The only thing that I've ever said is that in areas where the government has proven itself either unwilling or unable to defend the lives of the property of Negroes, it's time for Negroes to defend themselves. Article number 2 of the Constitutional Amendment provides you and me the right to own a rifle or a shotgun. It is constitutionally legal to own a shotgun or a rifle. This doesn't mean you're going to get a rifle from battalions or foreign battalions and go out looking for white folks, although you be within your rights. I mean, you'd be justified, but that would be illegal, and we don't do anything illegal. If the white man doesn't want the black man buying rifles and shotguns, then let the government do its job. So I just want to open up the conversation tonight. I kind of already said what the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution is, but I want to hear from you all. Do you exercise your Second Amendment rights? Why or why not, family? If your phone is on mute, you can go ahead and take your phone off mute right now. I definitely want to hear your thoughts. Linwood, Tiffany, Carmen, do you exercise your Second Amendment rights, which is the right to bear arms? Why or why not, fam?
Hello, can you hear me? This is Niali.
Peace, Niali. Welcome, Queen. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Good evening, everyone. I don't own a gun. I don't touch guns. I'm kind of scared of them. But I know that I need to learn how to use one, definitely. And, I think it's for all of us to learn how to use guns and have them legally, so if anything does happen, not that it even matters as we have saw in the past, but know how to use it and have one, and not necessarily in your home because you have to make sure you secure it, but just know how to use it is very important. And I saw a meme online one time, or either on Facebook, and it was of these Caucasian kids in the woods, and it says that they are ready. And they were all like 4 and 5 years old. And I'm like, oh my gosh, look, these kids out here hunting, doing, night moves in the woods and stuff, or the swamps, wherever they were. And here I am, and I'm terrified of guns. And these small children are being taught by the adults, to use guns. But then I saw another meme where it was like a little boy in the hood with his family, I guess, or the boys in the neighborhood, and the little boy had a gun, and it was just like everybody was dragging the people from that picture. And I'm wondering, what's the difference between this 4-year-old boy in the hood versus some 4-year-old in, the swamp, learning how to use a gun? I think it's important that we all learn how to use guns and just know how to use it in a way that's safe if we're going to show our younger people, have them respect it in life. Thank you.
Thank you for your contribution to tonight's topic, Miali. Well, wise words, and it's always good, especially on this type of topic, hearing from our sisters, because when it comes to gender roles, and I'll get into this a little bit later, it's typically men who are out here supposed to protect, the woman and the family. And when you think of protection, sometimes that does come with firearms training, but sometimes a lot of females get left out in that conversation, and it's good to hear their feedback. So thank you. Anyone else kind of want to contribute to what Niali said, bring something new to the table? We're talking about the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which is the right to bear arms, so feel free to build on that, but also asking, do you exercise your Second Amendment rights? Why or why not?
Hey, this is Tiffany. I do exercise my Second Amendment rights. I do have a firearm. I am trained to use it. I will use it if I have to. I live in Detroit, and I live in the hood, which is not a problem for me, but other people, may think that I'm vulnerable because it may be just me and the kids here, my husband's not around, or anything might happen, just anything might happen, and I need to be able to protect my family.
Simple as that, Queen, and I love that, and that's very important. You have, babies that you need to protect and take care of, and I think that's a very positive outlook on the topic of firearms and the benefits of definitely taking advantage of that Second Amendment right and exercising that. One thing that kind of made this topic even more impactful, I was talking to my queen. She actually got in a car accident recently, so she has to walk to and from school and work now. So she was walking home from work early this week, and some dude on a bike approached her. He had a mask on and everything. It didn't get physical or violent, but she did feel her safety was a little threatened. But she's not trained on firearms, and I wasn't there to protect her. Unfortunately, we live in different cities and things of that nature. So she's not trained with firearms. She doesn't exercise her Second Amendment right. The sweetest queen you could possibly ask for, an angel. But in the times of self-defense, when those times come in the unforeseeable event, it's very important to have those skill sets and knowledge. In the unforeseeable event, your protector, your man, or your son, or whatever the case may be, or you're not with other people that can help protect you from that. So I also, so thank you for mentioning that, Tiffany. Anyone else? I'm going to read something from Facebook Live. Brother Dante said he exercises his Second Amendment rights mainly because of the fact that we're allowed to do so. And also, he believes in protecting himself and his personal property. It can help in situations where a militia is necessary. Brother Abdul said there are how-to videos, I'm assuming on YouTube, how to build your own gun, and it's legal to do in most states. So for all the do-it-yourselfers out there, just simple research will definitely help you out with that. Assad said that we're still on Facebook Live, family. This is the whole point of the second of the school to prison pipeline. I think he's responding to Brother Abdul. This is the whole point of the school to prison pipeline, to politically and physically unarm you, to prevent you from having children, to destroy you economically, and to enslave you for life. And Sister Donna just joined in. Peace, Queen. So as you can see, there's conflicting, maybe not conflicting, but just different viewpoints. There are some queens out there that don't really want anything to do with firearms because of the unforeseeable event, like it might get in the wrong hands, or just that element of danger that might necessarily come with that. And then there are others that say, hey, you know what, I'm definitely going to exercise it because I have children to protect, I might live in the hood, different things of that nature. And then brothers that are out here that saying, hey, I have property and I have the right to do so, that's why I'm doing it. For me, myself, I do not exercise my Second Amendment rights. However, that's something that I'm striving to do. It all depends on your laws and where you live. And I think that's another topic of the conversation. What are the laws like where you live in Michigan, in Maryland, and in Missouri, things of that nature? Is it an open carry state? Different things of that nature. And what's the process? And I think that's something that we all should understand when we're going into that, right? What's the process like so that we're legally abiding by the rules when it comes to carrying and concealing and just having that in our homes. The next question I kind of want to move on to is, should the black community strive to have our own law enforcement organizations and military? What steps should we take to ensure our families, communities, and our assets are protected from other domestic terror groups and militias, family? Thoughts? Linwood, I want to hear from you, bro. I haven't heard from you yet. Carmen, would love to hear from you as well. If you happen to just join the call, mention your name and where you're from. Would love to hear you build on this topic.
Peace, this is Linwood. I think it's extremely important for communities to band together and form their own militias. I don't think we're going to be respected as community or as a people until we have some type of legitimate backbone to stand on. A lot of times, like we have these situations where we're preyed upon by people like you said earlier, that happened down in South Carolina, or even the police. And I mean, it's like we don't have a unit to protect the community. To be defended.
Well said, brother. Thank you for your contributions. I agree with you. Anyone else want to build on what Linwood just said in regards to the necessity and importance of having our own militias and law enforcement to protect our communities? Anyone else?
Well, this is Phyllis in Memphis. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear, Queen. The floor is yours.
Okay. We definitely need our own militia of some sort. We're about to come into an age where we need our own everything. We need our own militia. We need our own communities. We need our own religion, more or less, because many of you know that the Christian religion is not real. It's not really written for us. But we need some type of defense for our people, because pretty soon it'll be to the point where I do see the revolution coming, and it won't be televised. It'll be one of those things where it will come to the point of black against white. You can almost see that in the future right now today with our new president that encourage certain types of prejudice and certain types of violence toward minorities. So, absolutely. And I think we need to start.
Go ahead, Queen. I'm going to try to find out where the background noise is going on. We can still hear you. Go ahead. Finish your thought, please.
I was just saying, and we need to start with our youth very early in life, understanding and knowing about weapons and weaponry, even to the point of being able to create a weapon. So we definitely need that because it's coming. Thank you.
And thank you for introducing. Thank you for your feedback. I love hearing from the queens on these topics and having that balance between the male contribution and the female contribution. in regards to these thoughts. And you raised a really interesting point, Quinn, about weapons creation and weapons training for our youth. And we're going to get on that a little later in this call, and I'm glad that you introduced that that topic, because that's very important in regards to early childhood education. I'm going to swing back over here to Facebook Live. We're getting some really good feedback from the family. Brother Frederick said that he's an Army vet, and he believes so. Going back to the exercising the Second Amendment rights, why or why not question I posed earlier. He is a father of 3 young queens and 1 prince, and he will protect with the utmost prejudice against all foreign and domestic, and teach them the same, teach his children the same, teach his babies the same. Brother Abdul mentioned that they need to look up black-owned gun clubs, and I'm glad that he mentioned that as well. And we're going to get in that towards the end of the topic about black organizations of the past and present that advocate the importance of exercising our Second Amendment. So thank you for introducing that to the conversation, bro. Sister Donna said that she plans to get her CCW, or concealed carry weapons permit, in the very near future, and purchase a firearm as well. And that's something that we could have a totally separate type of conversation about in regards to what types of firearms beginners should be purchasing and handling, and what type of firearms are necessary for the household and then carrying in public, things of that nature. So this could be a topic that we could build on for future references as well. So thank you for your contribution, Donna. And then Mr. Nat Turner said that he's in South Carolina, and they're trying to pass an open carry law for anybody over 18 that can carry open, that can legally carry open. And so I'm going to go back to what Phyllis said earlier. You can kind of see, like on social media, or if you live in the country, depending on what part of the country you are in the South, especially in the South, that a lot of Caucasians are training their children at a very young age to, be knowledgeable with firearms training and to feel comfortable carrying them, almost like carrying a backpack or your wallet. So, and it's very important that we have that same type of mentality, not to say like go out, hunt and kill people, but definitely protect yourself, protect your family, and feel comfortable carrying that, because your enemies are doing that with their militias and things of that nature. Give me 1 second. We got a little bit of background noise. If you're in public or you're around children, make sure you mute your phone. So I'm going to take it back a little bit historically about, black people and our relationship with guns, right? So when it comes to the Second Amendment, that was enacted in 1791, as far as a well-regulated militia being necessary to the scrutiny of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Hold on 1 second, family. I need to mute a caller. Just got some background noise. And then taking it from there, the Atlantic wrote a really good article back in 2016 about black people's relationships with guns and the type of laws that we face. So there's another element to not just carrying, but how do we, become more politically active in regards to that. So between 1775 and 1866, especially with the abolishment of slavery, there were the black code laws that were enforced to make sure that black people were not allowed to exercise our Second Amendment, even though we fought in pretty much every war for America. But once the South lost the Civil War, they had to come up with different ways and strategies to make sure black people did not own firearms. And one of the organizations, domestic terror organizations, that were responsible for going out and pretty much confiscating a lot of those black guns was none other than the KKK. And they are still alive and well in our country, in the South, in the East, all over. They have organizations everywhere, and they host these rallies out here that pretty much advocate the Confederate flag and white supremacy and things of that nature. But in the 60s and in other points in that time, we've had, organizations that have advocated for that and self-defense. And in the 60s, it was prominent with the Black Panther Party, right? And then, as people are saying in Facebook Live, the Nation of Islam, or the Fruit of Islam, have been large advocates for this as well. So, bringing it back to the top to tonight's conversation, I think we kind of introduced it a little bit earlier in the conversation as well. Should self-defense and firearms training be incorporated in early childhood education? How do gender roles contribute to your beliefs on this topic? So, do you think males and females, as far as young boys and young girls, should be doing this, or just young boys, or how should this be introduced, family? What are your thoughts? How should...
Boys and girls.
I'm sorry, who's speaking right now?
My name is Dennis.
Peace, Dennis. Where you calling in from, bro?
New York, Jamaica, Queens.
Respect. Go ahead with your build. I didn't mean to interrupt your conversation, but you said boys and girls should be required to do this. You think?
Yeah, it shouldn't be separated because you don't have any balance. You just have one thing with just boys and then one thing with girls. There are certain situations, but I don't think about this. No, this one I think both should be involved.
And why do you think that, bro?
Well, like I said, we're too separated as it is, and to separate the boys and girls, I don't think it's a good idea. I went to all-boys school, and I hated it. I felt I lost a lot of things trying to talk to my sisters, learning more about them, and I regretted going to all-boys school when I was in high school. So I don't think it should be separated if it's not possible.
Respect. Anybody else's thoughts on how gender roles play a part of this shit? Boys and girls, males and females, kings and queens, be introduced to firearms training and firearms safety. And then I think another thing to consider is how have firearms or our access to it been detrimental to our community, right? We have a lot of gangs out here, Bloods and Crips, and other different types of gangs. Some are more neighborhoodish and tribal, right? How the gun violence has increased the rate of deaths in our own community from our youth, right? So would further access to or further exercising the Second Amendment, would that be beneficial, seeing what's currently going on in our communities, or would it be detrimental? What are your thoughts on that, family?
Again, I think it would be beneficial. It's just they don't get the proper training. They get the thug life, so it's just, shoot. I don't care who I kill. If they properly train and who to aim at and how to handle a gun, I think things will work out.
Anyone else? Thank you for that, Dennis. Anyone else? Phyllis, Niali, Carmen, Tiffany, Linwood. We got quite a few callers on the line tonight. Want to hear your thoughts on gender roles and if it's actually beneficial or detrimental, considering the high rate of homicides that are taking place in our community. Before you answer, there's a question on Facebook Live. Brother Abdul said, what's the phone number for tonight's conversation? And if everybody on Facebook Live, you can call in and let your thoughts be heard. The number is 404-448-2002. And I'll also make a comment of that. But I want to open up the floor to people on the call that they have any feedback.
Hello, this is Niali calling from Baltimore again. I do agree with Dennis about the people with the guns. They get guns and they're just shooting. The gang people are, and sicker kids, they're getting guns because they're doing drugs, selling drugs, protecting the turf. But if they weren't doing that, they wouldn't have a gun. If we think about it, only people right now in that life are doing it because a lot of us do not exercise our Second Amendment right. So it is good for all of us to learn and to know, especially, and I do want to say that we do especially need to introduce this at a young age so kids will respect it, and also not just teaching it to boys, but teaching it to girls, because a lot of women are raising families alone. So I think they should be teaching their children, girls and boys, so you don't have girls like me who have grown up terrified of guns. Every time I look on Groupon, I see $45 shooting range, they're going to teach me this, they're going to teach me that. And then at the last minute, I was like, no, that's okay, I don't want to go. But I know I have to do this, and I know it's super important because, like one of the callers said, something is coming. Something is coming. We can't be Walking Dead with swords. People are going to have guns, and we need to know how to protect ourselves and our homes. Not only from, the people that hate us because of our skin color, but just for some people also who may just want to do payback to some petty stuff, you know? We have to protect our families. And they're going to be aiming for black men. So, you know, as a black woman, I'm going to protect the king. Thank you.
Ashe, Queen. Thank you for that. And so, a couple of things that I want to raise as well before I open it back up. On Facebook Live, Sister Donna has mentioned that that's one thing that she admires about the Fruit of Islam or the Nation of Islam in regards to protecting ourselves. But it looks like there was a correction saying that on Facebook Live that the FOI, or the Fruit of Islam, are not allowed to carry guns or weapons, period. However, self-defense is, they believe in hand-to-hand combat, that should be enough. But our organization, United Black America, we definitely advocate for firearms trading. Brother Frederick said that we should teach our kids at a young age to protect ourselves in all forms, hand-to-hand combat, weapons, and how to mentally protect ourselves. So I think at the end of the day, that's the beautiful thing about introducing firearms training and self-defense to our children at a young age, because there are a lot of misguided individuals and youth that run to a gun as a first means to resolve a conflict. However, once hand-to-hand combat is introduced and psychological combat is introduced, then a lot of the things that we're seeing with the high mortality rate of as a result of gun violence will hopefully start to decrease in our own communities, and we can resolve conflicts either by our words or with our fists, as opposed to running and getting our guns. Another thing that I wanted to mention, for example, taking it back, I think a year ago, to the case of Philando Castile, who had his CCW, his right to carry, and he was still killed by a police officer. So just because our community becomes more politically active or lawfully active in regards to carrying does not necessarily mean that will alleviate or diminish our chances in our run-ins with law enforcement and white supremacy. So what are your thoughts on that, family? Does everybody necessarily agree with that by carrying guns and weapons training will pretty much resolve a lot of the things that are going on in our community, or will we still be targets? Like, what are your thoughts on that, kings and queens?
I got to step in here.
Oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
I got to go ahead. I'm going to jump in and jump right back out. This is Asad Malik. I got to disagree with the assertion that just carrying guns is going to resolve any of our problems. If we go back to the definition of education and the four purposes of education, the final fourth purpose of education is to develop a shared vision for the future and the society that we all want to live in. We all know that. That's coming from Dr. Naeem Akbar. Without a shared vision for the future that we all want to live in, having guns will do nothing to solve our problem. This is why we see black-on-black violence. This is why we see brothers and sisters turning those weapons on each other as soon as they get them in their hand. This is why we see brothers and sisters, kings and queens, and our babies engaged in the drug trade in the first place. As a community, we have failed to develop a shared vision for the future and the society that we want to live in. I think if we are going to educate our babies on using weapons, we've got to first start with the ideological training of our babies, and that has to start with our own ideological training as adults. Look, family, we're in the business of nation building. We're in the business of building a future where we can protect ourselves and live with one another safely and peacefully. That's our shared vision for the future. And until we educate ourselves to accept that, deconstructing our miseducation, getting rid of all of that brainwashing that we've had to endure under this system of white supremacy, until we go through that process, then putting weapons in the hands of black men, women, babies, or anybody else in our community is only going to result in the same destructive behavior we've experienced in the past. We've got to change our approach to educating ourselves. Then we can introduce new weapons with which we can fight and defend ourselves against the weapons of white supremacy. How y'all feel about that?
This is Rhonda Segment Raw. I'm from an organization called the Black Awakening Movement, and our intention is just that, to awaken people to what's going on and to have an understanding so that we effectively know how to act against white supremacy, that we're not just acting arbitrarily. One reason I came on this call is because we've actually been trying to get in contact with you guys, because I think there's been some confusion about stuff, but I won't waste too much time on the call doing that. I just want to say I agree with the brother, and I think we do need to have our minds in the right place, but I think that we can do that simultaneously.
I think we could do the physical training along with the mental training and the spiritual training that goes along with that, that is in line with our culture. That's all I want to say. Peace, family.
Hey, family. My name is Aldo. I just want to make a quick statement. I participated in some of the things we've been talking about tonight in the past. I'm from Chicago, and I'm going to just say that without economics, we can carry as many guns as we want. We won't get anywhere. I just took a trip to Belize, right? And there, we have the ability to go anywhere in the world and trade the products that we buy on a normal basis for twice as much money as we have, but yet we don't. We sit here and we work as slaves for people who seek to oppress us in everyday life. If we can't get away from working for people and get back into trade like our ancestors did, we can buy as many guns as we want. We won't go anywhere.
May I say something real quick? But we do have the right to defend ourselves. All living creatures, animals, everything, bugs, all defend themselves. So why can't black people defend themselves if they're being attacked by all kind of people? We're just supposed to stay and stand up and take it like we normally do?
If we buy guns right now, we're buying guns from them. We're buying bullets from them. If they choose to stop selling them to us, we won't have them. Without economics, we can't build a structure to produce our own weapons. And then they'll fear us. Then we won't have to worry about them shooting at us if we can build our own structure. But we refuse to do that.
Hold on. First of all, let's let the brother finish as opposed to interruption. But go ahead, Abdul. I think you were the last one speaking, and then we'll go back to my man in New York. Go ahead, brother.
Okay, I'm sorry. No, I interrupted him. I apologize.
All good, family.
Continue.
All good, bro.
Yeah. I was just saying, without a structure, we have no future, man. Right now, like I was saying, I went to Belize, right? Now, the first thing I saw was that they don't see the value in anything that they have down there. It's an English-speaking country, and most of them look black, right? And they don't see that they burn oak trees for firewood. They don't see the value in selling it to people here in the States, right? And this is repeated all around the world, in Africa, all over. And the Europeans take advantage of this on a daily basis, right? We can do the same thing. Collectively, we're just the African Americans. We're the 9th richest nation in the world right now. Probably moved up the list or maybe down. But last time I checked collectively, we're the 9th richest nation in the world. If we can use our money to sway things, we can control the world from right here in America. That's all I have to say. You guys, go ahead.
Well said, brother. Go ahead, family. My man, was it Dennis?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Well, like I said, there's a gentleman in the back of the 50s named Robert and Mabel, what was his name, Williams or something like that. And he's training his wife. This is back in the 50s. He's training his wife how to shoot a gun. He's training her. He just said they're not going out indiscriminately killing people. I admit there's a really big problem in the black community because we just go out thugging and we start firing guns and stuff like that. We don't care if we shoot Grandma or little Susie or whoever. So to me, it's a matter of training. I read an article one day about a brother from the South, and I was against guns. I used to be really totally against guns until I read this article, and he said because he lived in the South with all these crackers down there, they got the Ku Klux Klan and so forth, and he had to protect his family. So, like I said, people protect themselves. Yes, it's going to get bad out here. It's going to be worse. We got to be ready when this happens.
So, and thank you for your thoughts, brothers. And it's good to see that we can agree to disagree for certain points. And I think, when you kind of look at it, it goes back to what Abdul was saying in regards to the importance of having an economic structure and self-sufficiency. Number one, does it make sense to go out here and buy a bunch of firearms from Caucasians and their bullets and all their ammunition if they can just take it from us in our times of need? So having our own businesses and our own economic structure is a very important part of the equation as well. Another part of that is when we go back and use St. Coffin, look back on the historical events of the past and learn from those going forward, it's definitely important for us to have some type of self-defense and law enforcement or militia in existence to make sure we do protect the little bit of economies that we do have. For example, Black Wall Street, when white supremacists decided they wanted to become jealous and petty and destroy all of that infrastructure that we had in place and burn it down to the ground, whether it be coming in, doing it from the ground, or dropping bombs from the sky. Did we have any self-defense for that? But when you look at a lot of the marches during the Civil Rights era, there were a lot of unspoken militias that were right there alongside to make sure that everyone didn't die. There was some sort of safety that was available, even with the Black Panther Party. But we also see that unless we get involved politically, they will just come up with more laws to make it harder for us to own guns and or own firearms and protect our families. So, for example, when you kind of look at what the NRA is doing, the National Rifle Association, they're one of those advocates saying, hey, for people to bear their arms or protect themselves, if everybody was to just go out and protect themselves, then we live in a safer place because no one would mess with each other. But we all know that's a lie. However, when our brother Philando Castile was killed by a law enforcement officer, and he had his concealed his concealed carry weapons permit showing that he was killed, but they were silent about that. And many other cases where our brothers and sisters were killed at the hands of law enforcement and different things of that nature. So it's very important for us to get involved politically, in addition to economically. So that was another question that I want to pose as we approach about 20 minutes left in the conversation. What are some black organizations of the past and present? I mentioned a couple, but I know I don't know everything, and I want to open up the floor to you all. What are some black organizations of the past and present that advocate the importance of exercising our Second Amendment rights and self-defense for the protection of our people? And why
Black Guns Matter.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Queen.
Black Guns Matter. I believe they're based out of Philadelphia, but they've been traveling in order to teach our people proper use of firearms as well as the laws behind it. I'm not actually a part of the organization, but I'm familiar with them, so I just wanted to mention it.
Peace.
What was the name of that organization again?
Black Guns Matter.
Oh, okay.
And is that like a newer organization, Queen, or have they been around for some years? What is your knowledge of and relationship with them?
I think it's fairly new. Of course, it was kind of coined off of the term Black Lives Matter. They put a spin on it. From my understanding, it's fairly new. I would say probably not more than a year or two. The brother's name who's in charge of it is not coming to me now, but if you go on Facebook and you just look up Black Guns Matter, you'll see the Facebook page. They also have a website. They've been doing events Philadelphia, Chicago. They did one in California recently. So they're traveling. So definitely anybody who hears this, definitely look them up.
And I think I've heard this organization before. I think I might even actually follow them on Instagram. If it is the same organization I'm thinking about, I think they're very visible in their presence on social media as far as the type of community events that they do. I believe they're free. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rhonda, but I think they have shown videos and different presentations of introducing firearms to children and teaching them the proper way on training and giving them a positive outlook on it as opposed to strictly negative. One of the organizations that I know of is the National African American Gun Association. Their main goal is to have every African American introduced to firearm use for home protection, competitive shooting, and outdoor recreational activities. I know they also have a website that you can go to. It's called naaga.co. So it pretty much gives all of their background information and things of that nature on there. In addition, Assad just mentioned on the Facebook Live, the PanAfricanAlliance.com or the ASAFO Gun Club. So that's ASAFO Gun Club. You can find them on our website with that backslash. So PanAfricanAlliance.com /ASAFO Gun Club. So these are just a couple organizations that are definitely being proactive in regards to that educational area of life and that political area of life, and introducing firearms, weapons training, and safety to our community. There's a statistic from the National African American Gun Association. They send out these monthly newsletters, and it talks about over 6 million black gun owners are in the United States, and 18,000 members are growing, 18,000 plus members and growing each day. So I think the National African American Gun Association, they have local chapters throughout the country. I think they might be at 50 right now, but in these newsletters is really good because they also give scrolls for you to read in regards to historical importance of African Americans and gun ownership and exercising our Second Amendment rights, and then the different type of firearms that we should be using, both male and female, advanced, beginner, in regards to protecting our household. Sister Donna said on Facebook Live, she mentioned the Black Panthers was another organization. But I know the community is a little divided on how they, feel about the Black Panthers and things like that. Most of it is good, and others may have mixed beliefs about that. So, but I mean, they're definitely one of those parties from the past that have been, very proactive in that. Anyone else have any thoughts on on tonight's discussion, what we're talking about right now? Organizations that you might...
I'm sorry. I just wanted to say one thing about the Black Panthers is that there's different types of Black Panther groups right now.
Mm-hmm.
You have the new Black Panther Party. You also have the Revolutionary Black Panther Party, the Huey P. Newton Gun Club. There's a lot of different types of Black Panther parties. So this, if somebody isn't, necessarily wanting to be with a specific version of the Black Panther Party, there are different ones that are out there. I just want to mention that real quick.
Thank you, Queen. Anyone else have any thoughts that they would like to contribute to tonight's topic so far that hasn't had a chance to speak? Again, if you're on Facebook Live, the call-in number, if you want to let your voice be heard, is 404-448-2002. I'm actually going to switch back over to Facebook Live and read a couple comments and topics. I'm going to scroll up a little bit because we had, some really good contribution and feedback from the family. Brother Dante mentioned that hand-to-hand combat is very important for our people to undergo as a form of education. Martial arts. I took martial arts coming up as a young child. I made it up to brown and quite necessarily make it to black. I wasn't Bruce Leroy out here, but it was definitely a good introduction and training on how to defend myself. So I definitely advocate for martial arts. And there are a lot of black martial arts instructors or senseis out there, family. It just requires a little bit of research. And then that could be another topic for one of our discussions as well. But getting back to what Brother Dante said, that psychological combat or discipline needs to be incorporated into whatever curriculum that we implement. So whether you're building with your children, or you go to a school or some type of community infrastructure, that type of discipline definitely needs to be advocated, because it makes no sense to say, hey, here's a gun, protect yourself, if there's no rules and code of conduct that goes with that. What else? Brother Frederick? Okay, go ahead, Queen.
Okay. This is Rebecca from D.C., so I've been listening. And, all of what I've been hearing, it just makes me think about, the economy and how will we get to being self-sustainable and not relying on, the powers that be, and how that informs, the draft and however that exists for, our black, young men, or black men, I know growing up, my mom was worried about that, and I'm sure a lot of black moms worried about that. Like, if you want your child to go to school, and you don't have money, to pay for your child's education, they have to sign up to go to war for a country that really doesn't represent our interests, don't have our interests in mind, and because the community, the black community as a whole, is not economically sustainable. We don't have our own way of defending ourselves, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's what I'm like thinking of, like how all that affects this conversation that we're having. I don't know what you guys think about that.
And now you mentioned,
that question, Jawan.
Go ahead, bro.
My question to the Queen is, what do you do as a day job? You can be generic with this.
I work at a nonprofit.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm sorry, Queen. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that everybody listening, you'll have some form of a day job. Therein lies our problem, right?
Yeah.
Earlier, a brother was expressing frustration over our economic circumstances. Well, the problem is you jump off the line and you go to work. Some people can't be on the line right now because they go to work. They're at work right now. They're listening. You have to censor what you say. You have to change your appearance because your hair is too natural, and you can't keep your job under those circumstances. Well, in that same line of thought, all of you all have had some type of great idea, some way to manifest your life's mission in the world around you through the form of a business, helping your community, helping other people. This is why entrepreneurship is so important. See, we talk about group economics and all these macroscopic bird's eye view, 3,000-foot views, but let's make it real. How many of you all devoted any time to your side hustles today? How many of you all are in phase 2 or transitioning out of your job and into running your own business full time? How many of you all are willing to turn off March Madness for just a second so that you can revisit your business plan? How many of you all are networking with other brothers and sisters and exchanging your dollars for their goods and services and vice versa? If we're going to talk about group economics, it has got to start with us as individuals, getting out of these jobs, getting off the plantation. Then we can start talking about establishing an economy. We can't talk about an economy if we're basing that off of donations or if we're talking about something somebody else has to do. Queen, I need you to produce goods and services that I need, washing powder, toilet paper, daycare, something that I can do with you, do business with you online concerning, and I'm going to do the same thing. Then when you need my services, which I do have a service, Legacy Web Services, you come to me for your website to be built, and when I need some detergent or whatever it is that I need in the case of True Detergent, I come to you and I get that taken care of. Now we're exchanging dollars between one another. And then the brother who was talking about economics earlier, he sees, well, you all have laundry detergent, you all have web services, but what you don't have is this. I'm going to bring that product to the market. Now we have him, and now we have her, and now we have an entire group of people who are all sustaining one another based off of our side hustle. And, of course, you build your side hustle off your life mission, your life's purpose to benefit your community. So not only are you taking care of the group economics aspect, but you're doing something that fulfills you in a way that's authentic to you and escaping the plantation and ultimately the entire system. How y'all feel about that?
Excuse me, brother. Can I just interject quickly? I just joined the conversation, and I apologize. And let's just look at it realistically. We gross $1.4 trillion a year annually as a people. In addition to that, we have HBCUs that we are not utilizing to train the Pan-African engineers, the Pan-African lawyers. So we have a lot of things at our disposal that we are underutilizing. Which is the same as Africa. Africa is a mineral-rich continent. But because they can't come together to establish the United States of Africa, and each individual country with their own leaders are so disjointed that the masses of Africans on the continent are suffering. And so we have to really, really look at that and go forward. I'll just listen to you.
This is Phyllis. This again.
Go ahead, Phyllis.
I want to say one thing. That is the whole purpose of United Black America, is for us to become unified. We have an opportunity with this organization to move forward, getting our thoughts together. We're working on school curriculum. We're working on social economics. But we need people to make those things work. And I've heard some
I don't want the habit of self-criticism, constant self-criticism. We're doing great things. We just need to look at the great things that are happening in the community and diminish how much attention we can go to the things that we might not be so proud of. Let's devote all our energy to doing something productive. Be at that Pan-African Congress, family, and you'll see for yourself.
Okay, and quickly, if
The Real UBA on Instagram, and on YouTube you'll find all of our Sunday sessions calls, in addition to all of our other individual projects, such as our Kwanzaa campaign and things of that nature, on YouTube channel, which is United Black America. Also, if you're on Slack, make sure you join the Sunday sessions channel. Leave your feedback, what you like, what you dislike, and future topics that you love to hear discussed as well. So I want to send you all out with a pleasant evening. Have a great week. I love you all, family. Take care. Peace.